Welcome back to another episode of Windows and Mirrors. In today's episode, we will have Professor and Faculty Advisor Jean Retzinger of the Media Studies Department and third-year Media Studies undergraduate Karina Candela discussing the importance of creating a personal relationship between student and faculty. These are their experiences.
This was so funny. This morning I was out for my run and someone called out, "Professor Retzinger," and I turned and it was a student named Miko who had been a student of mine in my very first year teaching at Cal. So that's in 1995. And he's still in Berkeley. He's teaching at King Middle School. It was fabulous to see him. I mean, we've seen him a few other times since he graduated. But yeah, those relationships are real. You know, those relationships really linger. I think what typically happens, I think sometimes the students I remember most are the students that I used to meet during the Cal orientation, the CalSO sessions. And sometimes I would, be leading a CalSO section, and then I would kind of get to know those students, and we would keep up, contact with each other all the time that they were at Cal, and then often it would even extend beyond when they graduated. So I think sometimes this feels very funny, but in some ways, the sooner you go to a faculty member when you get here and just check in and say, "I'm thinking about being a media studies major, I'm an intended media studies major, and I just want to, talk with you about the major and what I need to do," that's really a brilliant opportunity to start to establish a relationship with a faculty member. And then I think, if you kind of keep checking in with that faculty member, it just cements that relationship and really makes it a strong and very powerful one for, I think, both of you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel a student should kind of approach you in terms of getting letters of recommendation or having you become one of their mentors?
To do a real mentorship is kind of difficult. Every once in a while, faculty have a project that they're working on, and they advertise for students to act as research assistants through the URAP program. So that's really a wonderful way to really interact deeply with a faculty member and understand what research is like, and to make that interaction really meaningful. For letters of recommendation specifically, it seems to me that I often get letters from students who show up in my office for the very first time, and they're asking for a letter of recommendation. And that's hard. I understand, I'm sympathetic with students in that position. Cal seems like this big, cold, giant bureaucracy, and it can feel really hard to have established a relationship. But it is so difficult to write a letter of recommendation based on, well, I see your grades, and that's about it. I know you were in my class. I don't remember you from my class. I don't remember you coming in. I've got these grades. I wasn't even necessarily the one who graded those papers because I had GSIs or readers. So it's going to be a very superficial or generic letter of recommendation. Mm-hmm. If you can avoid that situation, that's the best thing. So that means that you needed to think ahead and just do those kind of regular office hour visits. When it gets down to asking for the letter of recommendation, what I always appreciate is of some kind of statement about what a student is applying for, and then a very clear deadline as to when that letter is due, and all of the information I need about who is it sent to, how is it sent, all of that. The thing I often tell students is that for you, that letter of recommendation is crucial, right? You absolutely need it. For me, if I don't write that letter of recommendation, nothing's going to happen to me. It's not going to matter at all in my little world. So what you have to do is really be proactive on that you need to go with enough leave time to ask for the letter of recommendation. And then what I always ask students to do is develop the fine art of nagging, so that in advance of the due date, you're reminding a faculty member, okay, I need this, in 2 weeks, or I need this, Now it's just a week before the deadline, so that you send these sort of timely reminders, and just make sure it gets done, because it's always on the bottom of my to-do list, and there's a dozen things ahead of it. So those are the things students can do to make sure they get done.
So you recommend sending frequent emails?
I recommend sending timely emails.
Okay.
What I used to do is say, I write letters of recommendation on Friday. So if you send me an email on Thursday evening, it'll be there first thing Friday morning when I come in, and that'll remind me to do it. So, whatever trick that faculty member is telling you about how to make sure a letter rec gets written, follow it, whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think the duties are for a faculty member?
I think essentially it's to be a model of the behavior that's appropriate in an academic institution. And I think that means partly to be professional, to go, for students to see that you go into class prepared, that you are knowledgeable, and that you are enthusiastic about the subject that you're teaching. I think that's kind of priority number one. And then I think it's in office hours is to treat students with respect, with the idea that this is an environment in which we value everybody, and we value diversity and value differences of opinion, but that we can engage in meaningful and productive, civil and often warm and fun conversations about ideas and about content. And that I think ultimately, if you fulfill both of those, if you can be professional in the classroom and be a human being in office hours, then you've at least sort of created the ground for a mentorship relationship with students, and something that can be meaningful to students and help them go forward.
Same question goes for you. What do you think the duties are as a student?
I think so far all of my media studies professors have had a personality in lecture that makes them seem welcoming to go talk to them. I think it's just me. I don't know how to talk to someone in a position of power without feeling intimidated or small. So I think that's just a personal... I don't know. I don't like creating relationships where I guess I ultimately would need something. It just feels a little bit ingenuine to some degree. And I don't want any professor that I talk to think I only want to establish a relationship because I need something.
All relationships are built on a give and take, right? Even your closest friends, there's a sense that you're friends with them because you provide something for them, they provide something for you, that there's some meaningful exchange going on there. And so, I think, yeah, I know how intimidating it can be to meet with faculty, but I don't really think any of us are that scary,
Yeah, I don't think you're scary. I think even in my third year, I haven't yet figured out how to navigate amongst professors or people I don't know directly, because there are so many people in a lecture that I feel a little bit insignificant. And so I don't know. Yeah, that's something I definitely need to learn. Yeah.
How do you go about helping someone who is having a difficult time or having conflict in their lives or something that's not academically related?
It happens more than I imagined it would when I became a faculty member. I wasn't really expecting those kinds of interactions with students, and yet they really are not unusual at all. And I certainly appreciate it when students come to me in that kind of state, because it feels like there's a level of trust there that makes me feel good. I think my number one task is really to listen. I don't have the kind of background in counseling or anything where I feel like I can really directly intervene, but I can listen. And then what I can do is alert students to resources on campus that are really designed for them. And so that's often what I'm trying to do is listen, to be empathetic with the situation. And I know it's incredibly stressful to be at Cal and to have all kinds of things going on in the classroom, outside of the classroom. So I think then, what I do have is just some knowledge of resources available at Cal to direct students to, and to really encourage them to use those resources. I always say, you're paying for this anyway. Mm-hmm. It's part of your tuition and fees, and I think these services are great, and I think they're worth using. So,
who are kind of like the first respondents on campus when it comes to those types of situations for you?
When I started at Cal, I was here the summer before my freshman year in Summer Bridge, and I think that's when I met a lot of the individuals who would help me throughout my journey at Cal. They showed me all of the resources, all of the study spaces. I met new incoming first-generation students, so I felt really comfortable coming into like the official semester. And so they showed me my advisors and who I should talk to, my EOP counselor and my LNS advisor. And so I think that was the only time I talked to my LNS advisor. And he helped me with my first semester classes. And then from then, I never went back. And I think it's because the media studies curriculum is very organized and I knew what to take. So I never felt the need. But fortunately, I've had jobs on campus or I've established relationships with my supervisors. And I think those have been the best mentorships because they've seen how I've worked and they've definitely taught me a lot. And one of them specifically was for first-generation students, and they provided me with like a student mentor who was in media studies. And so I learned about the major from her. So yeah, I think I definitely value those personal connections that have seen me grow throughout my journey at Cal. And even when I stop working at that location, I still see them around campus and they still talk to me. So it's been great. Yeah, I think those are the people that I go to.
This has been another episode of Windows and Mirrors. I'm your host, Gabriel Gonzalez, and thanks for listening.